Hello and welcome to Andertons TV. My name is Jack Duxbury and this is...
Chris Calcutt.
Oh, awesome. We got Oz behind the camera and we've been really kind to me and not told me what this is. Yeah. You've just unveiled it. What have we got today?
This is literally the first time you've seen it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is the TEO-5, the new Oberheim synth. It's a really interesting little synth. Yeah, it's based on that kind of that heritage of Tom Oberheim. Yeah, with all that kind of the nice blue lines on there to give it that look. Based around the SEM filter, which is the filter that Oberheim are kind of really well known for. In a small format, 44 keys, so 3.5 octaves, which is an interesting keyboard format. And yeah, I mean, obviously you can see we've got a lot of knobs on the top panel here. Nice knobby synth to dial in your sounds, but there's a lot of additional stuff under the hood with it in the modulation matrix and stuff. So it's kind of taking that Oberheim sound, but taking that to the kind of the next level in terms of modulation and kind of possibilities of sculpting the sound with it. So yeah, it's the TEO-5.
Quick one, because this is the launch day. We'll do a deeper video, I think, that will come out when they're available. It's not available in the stores yet, right?
Right, so yeah, so this is day one. This is, obviously, this was being announced at Super Booth, which should be today, if we get into our TARDIS. And then, yeah, this should be starting to land in the stores around about the end of June, beginning of July 2024.
So what the big, like, when I click on the website, what's the specs on this?
What's the specs? Okay, so it's a 5-voice. We've got 5 individual voices in there, 2 oscillators, the SEM filter as well, 2 LFOs that we've got over here. One is a monophonic LFO, one's a polyphonic LFO, 2 effects as well. One is a dedicated reverb effect, the other is kind of a multi-effects. You can choose what sort of effect you want with that. 2 filters, and all that kind of nice sort of goodness that you'll find on an Oberheim style synth. But then we've got the screen here as well with a mod matrix. And the mod matrix basically allows me to take any aspect pretty much of the synth and patch that in like you would on a modular with a patch cable into any other part of the synthesizer. So it's actually it's compact, but there's a lot of sound inside of here. Of course, obligatory patch number 1, and it's an Oberheim, but... So, you know, it's just got that nice, really rich Oberheim style sound. I mean, if we grab the filter as well. That really rich SEM sound. And actually with the filter as well, it's a state variable filter. And that basically means we can pass through from a low pass filter, so a typical kind of low pass sort of sound. But then if we move into the notch area, it's now a notch filter. If we get a bit of resonance on there. Nice kind of phasey sort of sound. And then we can go into the high pass. So it's a really, there's a lot of stuff you can do with this filter. The fact it's state variable, I mean, modulate that as well if you wanted to. So it's a really quite a powerful filter. So it's state variable, as I say, passes from low pass through notch to high pass, but also in the menu here, you can switch over to find, where is it? Filter band pass. So if I switch that now to a band pass, you get the band pass sound as well. So yeah, a lot of stuff you can do with the filter there. Actually, I think the filter is kind of really, you know, kind of the star of the show here. It's the SEM filter, which is the filter that Tom Oberheim used in his original synth, the SEM, the Synthesizer expander module. Yeah, that's right. The little white boxes, and that was the filter that he kind of put into that box, and you know, it's kind of been really well received throughout all the Oberheim products. Really made its way into the OBSX, the OB8, and all that sort of. Or maybe not the OB8, but it was still into the to those larger polys as well. And the thing about it is, I mean, without any resonance, you know, it sounds great. It's a 2-pole, 12 dB per octave. Sounds nice as a low pass there, but when you start to crank up the resonance, That's where you get that really nice kind of typical kind of Oberheim sort of sound. And you can push the resonance really hard there. So, yeah, that's, I would say, kind of one of the stars of the show there. And the other thing is as well, on the oscillator section, we've got switchable waveforms. So in effect, we can have all of the shapes at the same time. So by default, you'll just be on a saw, like so, but then you can add in the square. So that's a combination of the two, and then add in the triangle as well. So, you know, you can have any kind of combination of those three waves.
Yeah.
You've got the second oscillator here, so I can just bring it in by switching it into the mixer, detune it a little bit, get a square on there, a bit of pulse width. So you've got that raw kind of sound thing there. Actually, one thing I'll just quickly show you, this is a nice little function, I think, on here. If you press and hold the oscillator switch, so this switch puts it into the filter path. So if you press and hold it, you get a level control, so you can just dial that. You can basically level the oscillators there. And the same with the sub as well. It's got a sub oscillator on here, and the noise as well. So you can, you can basically use this as a mixer as well. You can switch them in nice and quick, or you can use it to kind of balance as well. So yeah. What else do we have? Of course, we've got the envelope over this end. The envelope, we've got two envelopes, and the way that these have been kind of designed is quite interesting. So by default, you'll have an envelope attached to the filter for controlling. Let's just get that down. To get that kind of filtery stuff. You've got one dedicated to the amp envelope as well, so with a nice bit of release as well. You've got that kind of thing where you've got this dedicated filter envelope and amp envelope, but if we switch here, what you can do is you can use this second envelope to combine to control both the filter and the amplifier. And that turns this into what's called an auxiliary envelope, which means then I can assign that to wherever I want. And yeah, I'm going to hit source, and this is the source. I'm just going to move this pot. You see it's automatically locked that into the modulation thing there. Now I've got the source set, I want to set it to somewhere. So I'll set it to here, the X mod, which I'll talk about in a minute, okay? So just this super quick, really easy way of connecting the modulation to the destination is really lovely. Now I've got this envelope connected to the X mod, FM, and now I can just dial in an amount. So I can just say how much I want of that to control it. So now I can just...
Now you've been around, that's got to be almost the best implementation of
it's amazing
modulation I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I know it sounds so weird. Like coming into synthesis, I never understood. Everyone would be, it's got a very deep mod matrix, and I never. Sometimes I couldn't get my head around it, but that's such a.
It's a really
beautiful,
super easy way of doing things, and that's across the board. I mean, so for example, if I want to, just as an example, if I want to take oscillator 2 as a source, I'm going to press source, move oscillator 2 frequency, which is available as a modulation source, which is pretty insane really. And then I say, okay, I actually want that to go to the filter, like so. Again, dial in the amount, and quite a tasty sound now, but and what's interesting there is, obviously this is a pure analog synth. That's something I should have said right at the very beginning. Of course, this is a pure analog synthesizer. But it's going into some really quite uncharted territories for this, because we're able to use FM, actual pure analog FM, to control things like the filter. But one thing that I should really definitely point out, I'm going to switch to triangle waves for this, just because it's nice when you do that. We've got this pot X mod. Now on previous Oberheim synths, we've had X mod. It's kind of it's a similar thing to polymod, the polymod that you find on Prophet 5 and those synthesizers. And that is what's called exponential FM. And you'll notice if you ever use the X mod on the OB6 or on the OBX8 or something like that, it can get quite cranky and kooky fairly quickly, because it's exponential FM. The kind of The FM that you kind of lust after is called linear through zero, and that's the one that is a lot more kind of musical. Things stay in tune a lot more, and this is actually linear through zero FM. So here's just a very basic, super easy to listen to a triangle. I mean, it's pretty subtle, really. If you go right into the top end, you get into that kind of strange, kind of more clangorous, dissonant kind of FM stuff.
Good word.
Thank you. Yeah, I was practicing that one on the drive up. It's yeah. I mean, that sort of FM, yeah, is still available from this, and of course you can tune things up a little bit. And then add different waveforms in as well.
So the first implementation of this type of
mod through zero.
I'm familiar with those through the years. And I always felt it was a bit scary going into that. That sounds a bit less scary.
It's a bit less scary, but you can make it more scary if you want.
Because then you can
ramping it up.
I'll put my Nick Bat hat on. When you said like everything's modulatable, how about effects? Can you do this?
For sure. Yeah.
Ooh, come
on. I mean, okay. So I've shown you how we do it with the mod destination and source buttons here. You just basically click the source, move the modulator you want, and then apply it to where you want. So there we go, to reverb size. So the envelope is now going to reverb size. But I should also show the LFOs have got dedicated destination buttons, and this again is just so easy. So if you just hit destination and go for reverb mix, and now so if you just add an amount of that, and then maybe a little tricky to hear with them.
But I love that.
There we go. That's the reverb LFO now.
It really makes a lot more sense with inbuilt effects to me now in 2024 that they should be modulatable.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it differentiates it from just getting a reverb pedal or something like that. You know, that integration's beautiful.
Yeah, that's it. And so you're right. These are totally viable kind of things to connect to, and should be as well. You know, you should be able to do that sort of thing with it. I mean, for example, on these effects, on the top effects, this is the sort of the multi-effect section, and you can use the type button here to just dial through, and if you can just see it on the screen on the bottom right.
Tape effect as well. Yeah, that's new. Yeah.
So let's go through, and we've got a straightforward kind of digital delay sort of style, bucket brigade delay style. Now, I haven't been practicing that on the way up.
You can never practice with that.
A tape-based sort of delay as well, tape 1 and 2.
Okay.
Chorus, flanger, phaser, high-pass filter.
Cool.
So we've got our general kind of state variable that does have a high pass on it, but if you wanted 2 filters, you can stick to low pass there, and then maybe what we could do is we'll change that destination to the time here. I think it'd be this one. There's the high pass filter. There we go. So we've got the high pass. I had this down a little bit too low. So we've got, these different effects to play around with. It's really lovely stuff.
I love that. LFOs, mono or poly?
Okay. Well, we've got 2 LFOs on the TEO-5. The mono LFO is global. So that's a single LFO that you can attach, and we've got 5 voices here, and that means we've got 5 filters. So if I play a chord and I've got 5 voices playing, this mono is going to move the filter for those at the same time. I mean, let's just try that. So destination to the cutoff, get an amount on there. So I'm going to play all 5 notes. Okay, you can hear there's 1 LFO there. Opening and closing all at the same time. So if I just move this now to LFO2 instead. It's this one, isn't it? I'll press destination here. Let's just kill the destination for that at the minute, so we don't have that running. So now LFO2 is also going to the cutoff. We'll get an amount in. You can hear now the LFO. There's more than 1 LFO going on there. In fact, we put it onto a square wave, which I think is this one, and just slow it down a bit, you'll hear a bit better. So that's quite a different sensation than just having a single LFO sort of controlling the filter.
Yeah.
Now we've actually got 5 LFOs controlling 5 different filters at the same time, sort of thing. Yeah.
But just jumping in, it seems even from the get-go when you were like 44 keys, and these, and also with the envelopes, the way you've done it, it's got a very unique feature set, but very thoughtful, that I think a lot of people are going to appreciate. In my brain as well, it's going to be less money than, so it's like getting the full Oberheim sound.
Well, yeah.
Do you feel that way?
Yeah, for sure. That's one of the really nice things about the TO, in the fact that the price is at quite a respectable sort of price. It's not, it's not up into
whisper it and great.
So
check the links below.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're filming prior to launch, so
that's considerably. Yeah, because at the moment, if you want Oberheim from Oberheim, it costs considerably more than that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the OBX8 is a total faithful recreation of all of those old OB8, OBX, OBXA, all those instruments, and has been, kind of meticulously sort of, I was going to say modelled, that's not the right word because it's an analog synth, but it's been meticulously crafted so that it can do what those
and the revisions, the historical revisions.
Absolutely.
But even like with the 5 voices, all very interesting specs.
Yeah, well, the TO-5 is basically, it's kind of taking that notion of what is, an Oberheim voice, putting it into quite a compact kind of format, but also modernising it. So we've still got that same attention to detail on the core voice, but just the modulation possibilities are a lot more stronger. I mean, there's obvious comparisons with this and the OB6. The OB6 is the collaboration with Dave Smith and Tom Oberheim. That's a 6 voice, and that's very much more focused on being kind of knob per function on the top panel, and also, the oscillators are discrete, meaning they're made up of components, whereas we've got chips in here that are providing the voices. Similar is kind of, the filter is kind of similar, but on the TO-5, because we've got this mod matrix and we've got 2 LFOs, we've just got a little bit more to kind of play with on the modulation side. That's not at the expense of the sound, it still sounds amazing, but it's just got a little bit more to it in terms of what you can, hook up modulation-wise.
Vintage knob.
Yeah, sure.
And the overdrive, I'd love to hear that. So I was just staring at those.
Well, let's
lovingly.
See if we can get like a unison patch. I'll just quickly. That says unison. So with the vintage knob, basically what this does is it kind of applies tuning errors, if you like, to the oscillators, but also it tunes up the envelopes as well, so that they're not just behaving like the straight out of the box kind of stuff, and the filters as well. So it's just kind of tuning that up. Actually, I say a unison side. Let's just go back to that Oberheim sound.
Yeah. We'll go 0 vintage, and then full.
So it's doing that kind of. It's just dialing in.
I love that even at max, it doesn't fall off the edge of a cliff.
No, that's right.
In a nice way.
I mean, you can make it fall off the edge of a cliff.
Because you can detune things if you really want it out of tune.
But with the vintage knob, it's just dialing in that kind of
variance.
that old behaviour that you find on old analogs. I mean, this is a modern analog. So, it's stable. It'll stay in tune. It's not going to wave. It's not too concerned about temperature changes. It will stay in tune. Whereas the old school stuff, as soon as the light came on, then it'd start wobbling out of tune.
Well, let's leave that maxed on, and then do you mind if I just bring the drive up?
I mean, let's see how it sounds on this one. It's quite a gnarly overdrive.
Yeah. That's cool, and I can see sequencer arpeggiator.
Ah, yes, of course, yeah. So, the sequencer is one of my favourite things, and you see this on some of the sequential synths, and obviously on the OB6, and obviously on the TO-5 as well. I really love this sequencer. I tell you what, I'm going to go to this sound. So, yeah, lovely, isn't it? I mean, I just noodled around with one of the
Clever
presets.
guy must have made that one.
Well, no,
I saw it in the name. I saw it in the, you gave it away.
I pinched it off somebody else and just
cool.
tweaked it. But I've gone to record now. Now, it's a poly sequencer. So I just hold down a chord. Okay. And then I can add another chord. And then maybe add some ties to that. And then maybe a rest. And then... rest, and there we go. So we've just recorded a quick sequence. And now I'll just hit play.
Great sound.
So that's the sequencer running, and we've got a clock divider here. So this is running at quarter notes, so the clock is quite slow. If we put it into...
Nice.
So the sequencer is a really lovely thing, and that, the thing that blows my mind with that is that sequence can get saved as the patch. So...
For performance, that's very powerful.
Yeah. So, you know, I can just hit save now, save that, and then this particular patch will open up with those notes in the sequencer. And what that kind of means is, you know, you've got 16 banks, each with 16 presets in. So there's 256 factory presets, there's 256 user presets in here. But if I was minded to, I could kind of just create the same preset sound, but just create different sequences on each one of these presets here. And I've basically got a little kind of sort of clip trigger, if you like, then, for that. So yeah, so that's a nice
very
thing.
powerful. And with that form factor, having been around I went to the Synth Expo recently,
London,
and I'm seeing that explosion. Everyone's doorless jamming, things like that.
Yeah.
With the being able to store the sequence in a device, is so powerful now, and I'm glad you've included that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really lovely thing, of course.
Just neated that up.
Yeah.
Well, let's play. We're gonna play you out with some patches. Be sure to click in description below for any more information, and keep an eye out for. We're gonna do a bit of a deeper dive. Video that will come out when it hits the stores. But we haven't missed anything else on the big...
No.
Day one.
Day one, I mean, yeah, it's an Oberheim, basically. It's an Oberheim voice.
Great, we could have done it in 30 seconds.
There we go.
We should do we'll do a 30-second remix of this video right now, okay? Hello, welcome to Andertons Music. My name's Jack. Oz is behind the camera, and this is...
It's Chris Calcutt.
And what is this?
It's an Oberheim.
Thank you.
Subscribe.